Eli Drinkwitz finally has his 2026 quarterback. Let's talk about Gavin Sidwar right now on Locked On Mizzou.
You are Locked On Mizzou, your daily podcast on the Missouri Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, all you true sons and daughters, I'm John Miller, your Mizzou mafioso and the central scrutinizer of Missouri Tigers football and basketball. And another day, another Gavin has committed to Missouri football. Yesterday it was Gavin Hoffman, the former Iowa tight end. Well, now it's Gavin Sidwar, yet another Pennsylvania area quarterback for Eli Drinkwitz and his squad. Bo Prabula, of course, transferred from Penn State. Matt Zoller's on the roster. Some people thought he was a five-star prospect coming out of the state of Pennsylvania. Well, now it's Gavin Sidwar. Again, 6'3", 190 pounds out of Warrington, Pennsylvania. I believe him and Zollers and perhaps Prabula as well, they at least know each other a little bit. I think he and Zollers, there's even a workout of the two of them online at some point. And interestingly, Missouri may be forming a bit of a Pennsylvania quarterback pipeline here, perhaps. Well, there's certainly a lot of worse states you could find to create a quarterback pipeline. Perhaps you've heard of these guys who come from the state of Pennsylvania: Joe Montana, Johnny Unitas, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Joe Namath. That's a pretty good fivesome right there. Throw in Rich Gannon and Ron Paulus as well, one of the most hyped high school guys from the late 80s, early 90s as well. But on Gavin Sidwar, here's the thing. His physical attributes, unlike Zoller's, I don't think are going to blow you off the page, but his arm is definitely good enough. The arm strength really, I think, is kind of like leaping ability in basketball. Obviously, you want it, all things being equal. It's great to have incredible leaping ability, and obviously two of the greats of all time, Jordan and LeBron, have incredible leaping ability, but you don't have to have it either to be an all-time great, as long as you're incredibly skilled. What's your favorite Stephen Curry or Nikola Jokic dunk, for example? So the point here is that while Sidwar, also not a real runner from the highlights that I've seen either, he's just chucking that thing all across the field, getting it out of his hands quickly for the most part, making good reads, and throwing a decent amount of different route combinations for a high school baller, I would say. And he even got a flea flicker on film during his 10-minute huddle highlight video. So Eli Drinkwitz has got to be excited about that. It just stands out to me, as always, when I watch high school highlights, as somebody who was in high school, almost 25 years ago now at this point. How fun has it got to be to play high school quarterback in this day and age versus, a couple decades ago when everybody was running 3 yards in a cloud of dust and running the option, that type of deal. Well, now everybody is in the shotgun and throwing the ball 30 to 40 times a game, at least more and more, that's for sure. So ultimately, Sidwar, I don't want to go overboard one way or the other. I've learned my lesson over the years on that with high school quarterbacks and their highlights. But this is a solid pickup for Missouri. The question is, of course, with every high school quarterback you sign these days, will he stick around? In 2027, for example, when Prabula will be gone, can he compete for the starting job? Because if the answer to that question is no, I think the reality is any quarterback is probably going to be moving on from the Missouri roster at that point. So Gavin Sidwar, an interesting name. I think one of the last maybe one or two guys that I think the Tigers should have considered at this position in this cycle. So a good pickup for Missouri. And I think from Eli Drinkwitz and Kirby Moore's perspective, just the more options Missouri can have at quarterback in the future, the better. And of course, this afternoon, it's time to watch the Missouri Gymnastics team go gymnasty. Thank you, Pat Lynch, for that line. And try to win the national championship. And by the way, I meant to mention yesterday, not only Helen Hu's clutch performance and landing there on the beam, not only did that get Missouri to the final, well, it also won her a national championship individually on the beam as well. So, yes, even more to my point, I think that's probably the greatest clutch moment in the history of Missouri sports, unless somebody's got a better one for me. But once again, 3 p.m., ABC this afternoon on television. By the way, a watch party at Mizzou Arena if you're interested as well. Doors open for that at 2 p.m. By the way, I thought a smart answer by the veteran Helen Hu after the semifinals there in the Nationals. She was asked basically, well, what'd you think about not getting a 10 for that balance beam performance? Hu had gotten at least, I think, a couple 10s on the beam this season. And her answer was basically, hey, I'm not entitled to a 10 from every judge. Well played, because, judges can get a little power trippy and maybe take things a little personally. That was a very well played and politically savvy answer, I thought, from the fifth-year senior in Helen Hu. And speaking of impressive interviews, Amari Celestine, too, on ESPN right after the event, just so confident, so charismatic. I just enjoy that young lady a heck of a lot. It's just, I don't know, I'm just really impressed by the savvy, I shouldn't say the savvy, but the calm, cool, and collective nature and confidence of all these young ladies on this Missouri Tiger gymnastics team. It's just really impressive. But I guess if I could do 28 backflips and land it, maybe I'd be pretty confident as well. So, again, go Tigers. That's all I can say. And there's a receiver in the transfer portal to watch as well. Has reportedly been on a visit to Missouri recently, sounding like he could make his decision as soon as today. Oklahoma and Arkansas interested as well. How do I feel this young man would potentially fit with the Tigers? I'll talk about that in just a second. But you know what? Quickly, I do want to tell you something. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? My goodness, is this a game changer? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with an Amazon Fire Stick TV 4K device. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of games like EA Sports College Football 25, to Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I mean, this really is something special. You want to talk about saving some money to not even need to buy a console, number one, and heck, maybe you're a grandparent or something like that, and you would just like to, for your grandkids to have access to maybe an Xbox at your house, but you don't want to make that kind of investment. Well, guess what? You're still going to have your Fire TV, all the 4K streaming that you've come to expect from Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, and many, many more. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Ultimate Game Pass, Ultimate subscription, and compatible controller required. Available on selected devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, 1st and 2nd generation, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. A lot of indications out there right now that Xavier Loyd, a receiver from Illinois State, could be making his college decision as soon as today between, among others, the Oklahoma Sooners and the Arkansas Razorbacks. Nearly 1,000 yards last season at Illinois State, 6 touchdowns. Obviously, this is the FCS level, so, gonna be taking a step up here. Maybe think Kiki Chisholm was a guy who made that leap at receiver for Missouri a few years ago to pretty good results, I thought. So, and similar to Chisholm as well, I'd say he's more of an outside receiver at 6'2", nearly 200 pounds. he's a guy I think can compete with Josh Manning and Speedy Johnson, Marquise Johnson on the outside. Because I think Kevin Coleman, based on his production in the SEC already and in at Louisville, at Mississippi State as well, and just everything you're hearing from the coaching staff, I think he's pretty well entrenched at the slot position. And I think Missouri feels comfortable, with Marquise Johnson and Josh Manning on the outside. But you bring in Xavier Loyd here. Again, production over potential. None of those guys, neither Johnson and especially Manning, have proven for an entire season that they can be a reliable option on the outside. I think both guys have that in them, but you add somebody like Xavier Loyd. Is it Xavier or Xavier? I don't know. We'll just have to find out. But Loyd is the type of guy, I think, that really fits what Missouri has on its roster very, very well. If I thought he were a more diminutive slot type of receiver, I'd be going, I don't know that he's going to be seeing the field all that much. But regardless of who actually starts, I think Loyd is a guy that will get a lot of reps for Missouri next season if indeed he commits to the Tigers. So stay tuned to social media, I would say, on this Saturday, and we'll probably get an answer one way or the other. And finally, Rock M Nation contributor Matthew Gustafson, and a future Mizzou mafioso as well. He reports that Sam Horn is going to open Tuesday's game for Missouri baseball. And I would point out the language there, open and not start the game. Of course, in modern parlance, for those of you who follow baseball closely, you know that the opener is often a relief pitcher who maybe pitches the first inning of a ball game, something like that. Well, I'd say that's probably what's going to happen here for Sam Horn. Don't expect a 5 or 6 inning debut after his, multiple arm injuries here and coming off of Tommy John surgery. But Horn has been a participant for Missouri in football practice here in the spring, so the fact that he's even going to be on the mound just shows, hey, obviously this elbow is coming around. Obviously, if you're a Missouri football fan, if you're Eli Drinkwitz, you're going to be watching that appearance with, through somewhat clenched teeth and nervousness. That's for darn sure. So hopefully Horn is fine. Certainly Carrick Jackson and his squad could use a bit of a pick-me-up after a really, really tough season. So good luck to Sam Horn. Hopefully an injury-free and successful outing and rest of the season for him. But thanks for joining me here on this, some are calling it a truncated episode of Locked On Mizzou. I prefer to think of it as fun-sized, but thanks for joining me as always, and thanks for making it your first listen. For your second listen, you got to check out Locked On NFL Draft, as the event is coming up here just less than a week away. Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez have you covered. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube and everywhere you listen to podcasts. So until next time, I'm John Miller. This has been Locked On Mizzou.